Hello guys, and welcome to my next video on PyQt introduction. In this video I'm going to cover list widgets and input box. As you can see, I've already created in a workspace folder the list widgets and input box folder. As a side note, you'll see I renamed our last sessions folder to include spin buttons. Alright, first up, let's open the designer. I'm going to create a widget class. Right, let's add a list box or a list widget. Then we need 4 buttons. We're going to do add, edit, and delete all. And I'm going to add a line edit and a label. Alright, let me quickly give names to these buttons. Alright, as you can see, we got to add, edit, and delete button. I'm going to add this to a grid layout. And there we go. Also, I've changed the object name, so I just added the prefix button. Button add, delete, and for all the objects we're going to use. So let's save this UI form. We're going to save this under our workspace folder. And under list widgets and input box. So let's call this list input and save that. So let's go to our workspace folder. Alright, so these are user interface. So first thing, I'm going to create the batch file to convert this. Alright, so there's our batch file. If we're going to open this up and edit it, and in here we're going to write Python user interface convert 5. The target is list input.ui, and the output is going to be list input.pyw, because this is going to be a view and a form. I haven't added the word view in front of it, so let me just update that. Alright, there you go. You'll see I added the view and also the file name, so I've added the prefix view. So let's save this. I'm going to run the CMD. Alright, I see Windows saved that under the alt name. Let me just fix that. Okay, so there's our CMD file. I'm going to double click this, so this should generate our view, and there's our view. Let's open a new project in PyCharm. So I'm going to open up PyCharm, file, new project. The location, I'm going to copy this location, paste it in there. Make sure it's the existing interpreter that we're using, and create the project. Open in a new window. Okay. Alright, so there is our view. Let's make sure it runs in PyCharm. And there we go. So first thing we want to do is we want to connect it to the controller. If you are at a loss at this stage, I've discussed the controller and the conversion with the bat files and all that's in previous videos. So feel free to go and watch those videos again. Right, so let's create our controller. I'm going to create a new text file. I'm going to call it controller list input.python. And I'm going to open this in PyCharm. So first thing first, we're going to say from PyQt 5 import Qt widgets. Next thing, we want to import our view. So we're going to say import view list input. Alright, then we want to create our controller class. Let's just capitalize that. It's always a good idea to capitalize your class names. So we're going to call this controller list input. It's going to inherit from QListWidget QInputDialog class. So remember the colon there. Let's define something is wrong here. That should be class, not call. Let's define the init statement, put in a parent parameter, default it to none. Let's call the superclass init function, as constructor. We pass both the parent and the self parameter to it. Alright, then we need to create the view. Self.ui equals the view class dot the view file, dot its class name. This is a generated class name. Have you already seen in previous videos? Then we need to run the setup user interface. Alright, and then we need to make this file executable. So if name equals main, so this is the main file, then we want you to run it. So what you're going to do is you're going to say app. Before that we need to import system app equals QListWidget.QApplication, and you're going to type system.argument value. Next up we're going to require we need to create a controller class, so let's instantiate that class, controller list inputs. So there we created the class, and let's show it so we'll be able to see it on screen. And finally system.exit app executes. Alright, so again I forgot the self parameter there. Let's run that, and this should execute, and there's your form. Alright, what we want to do is we want to connect to this button. So if we type in text here, then if I click the add button, it should add that text to this list box. And the edit button should obviously edit it, delete, and delete all should delete obviously all the text. So let's get started. First up, you're going to connect those 4 buttons. So you have to create connect statements in the init function of a class. So let's start by invoking self.ui. The first button is the add button, and we're going to connect to its clicked function dot connect, and we're going to create this method called self dot, let's just call it add. We'll calculate it later on. So let's create the next method for the next button. There's going to be one for the edit button, and there's going to be one for all the 3 other buttons. So let me quickly pause the video and do that. Alright, and there you go. So I've connected all 4 buttons to these 4 functions. So next up we need to create a functions. So I'm going to write the skeletons of this. Let's start with define, add. A useful keyword I haven't talked about before is the word parse. So if you type that in, it will actually allow you to come back later and finish that function, but it won't compile with error. So let's create the rest of these functions. Alright, so there's all 4 functions. So basically what's going to happen now, when the user click on one of these 4 buttons, the connect statement is going to connect you to their corresponding functions. So first up, let's write the add statement. Alright, so let's start by writing self.userinterface .listWidget .add item. Alright, so in here we need to tell them what item you want to add. So we're going to add the text box. So let's write self.ui dot text txt dot text, and we need this button's text. Alright, let's run this program and see if it works. So basically the general idea is if I type text in here, so let's say item 1, and I click the add button, it adds it to the list box. Alright, so just to recap, we do that by creating or calling the add item method of the list widget, and we're adding the text box item to the list box. Alright, next up we want to implement the edit button. So first we're going to create a variable and store the current row in that variable. So the variable I'm going to call self.row. To get the current row, we're going to type self.theuser-interface.listWidget .current row. So this should return the current row and save it into the row variable. Next up, we want to remove the current row and insert a new value. So we can type self.userinterface.listWidget.takeItem, and takeItem will take the current row number. So let's put in here self.row. And then we need to insert a record. So it's going to say self.userinterface.listWidget.insertItem. And in here we need to put the row number, self.row, and the item we're going to insert. For simplicity's sake, I'm first going to stick to the text edit, and let's insert the text edit value. So we can type self.ui.txttext.text. Alright, if you run this, and let's enter values. If I want to change one of the values, I can click on this value and let's change that to X. And if I click edit, it changes the value to X. Alright, next up we're going to implement the delete and delete all buttons. So to implement the delete button, we can say self.row, self.userinterface list widget current row. So I'm basically re-implementing the above line. And we're going to say the current row, we're going to delete that. So it's going to say self.userinterface.listWidget take item self.row. So this should delete an item. And last but not least, delete all. You can implement self.userinterface.listWidget.clear. And this should clear all the items. Right, let's run and test the program. Okay, let's insert the values. Again, if I want to edit a value, I can edit it. If I want to delete that value, it deletes the exact value. And if I want to clear the list and delete everything, the delete all works as well. Alright, we can improve this program by implementing the input text box. What we can do is, instead of typing a value to the edit value in the text box above, we can have PyQt give us a pop-up and type in that pop-up a new value. So how we go about that? First, let's close the program. Well, first we're going to go into the edit methods. We're going to enter and use the QInputDialog The QInputDialog returns a list, so we can either use the list in one variable, or we can declare two variables and then put the input dialog. So I'm going to create two variables and show you how to do that. So first up, we're going to create a variable to store the message of the user. Then the second variable is going to be OK. So this is basically going to tell me whether or not the user pressed OK. Then we're going to place the QInputDialog. So let's call QListWidget QInputDialog.getText. So the first parameter here is the parent. Who's the parent of this input dialog? We're going to say it's the controller class. Next up, the header of this dialog. We're going to say input, and the body text of this dialog. So this is basically we're going to ask the user, please enter a value. Alright, this value that we receive, then we want to save that and insert that here instead of the text box. So we're going to place a text box with the message. Another thing we might want to do is to check whether or not the user clicked OK. So we have that variable, so let's use it. I'm going to use it in an if statement. Itself.OK. I don't have to say equals true, because that's the being implied here. If the user clicked OK, let's take an item and let's insert the new edited item. Alright, and that's it. Let's run the code and see if it works. So let's enter a bunch of values and try to edit one. So let's make that an X. It's asking us to please enter a value. This is the header text as mentioned before, and this is the body of the QInputDialog. So I'm going to click OK, and there it changes it. So if I select that one and I type cancel, then nothing should happen. And that's it. Okay, this concludes this video. I hope you found this useful, and next up we're going to discuss more advanced widgets. I hope to see you there.